Welcome to the Timeline, the channel where we peel back the layers of history to understand the innovations that define our modern existence. Today, we are exploring an invisible architecture that holds our digital civilization together. It is a force you likely used to find this video, yet it remains completely unseen. We are talking about Wi-Fi. In the span of a single human generation, it has moved from a laboratory experiment to a fundamental human right. This is the timeline of the invisible revolution. To understand where we are going, we have to understand the world before the air carried data. Imagine the late 1980s. If you wanted to connect two computers, you needed physical copper. The internet was a stationary experience. You sat at a desk, tethered by an Ethernet cable that restricted your movement to a few feet. The concept of mobile computing was an oxymoron. Laptops existed, but they were mostly heavy word processors that became dumb the moment you unplugged them from the wall. We were a civilization of wires, and those wires were reaching their breaking point. However, the foundation for our wireless world was actually laid during the chaos of World War II. This is one of history's most fascinating detours. Hedy Lamarr, a woman world famous as a Hollywood star, was also a brilliant self-taught inventor. Alongside composer George Antheil, she developed a secret communication system to prevent enemy forces from jamming radio-controlled torpedoes. Their solution was frequency hopping, splitting a signal across multiple frequencies so it couldn't be tracked or blocked. While the military didn't use it immediately, this exact logic of spread spectrum technology is what allows your modern Wi-Fi router to talk to your phone, your laptop, and your smart fridge all at once without the signals crashing into each other. By the early 1990s, the push for a wireless standard became a global race. In Australia, researchers at the CSIRO were working on solving a massive problem: indoor radio signals. You see, radio waves bounce off walls, furniture, and people, creating echoes that garble data. The Australian team developed a mathematical way to unmask these echoes, effectively clearing the air for high-speed data. Meanwhile, in the United States, the IEEE committee was working to turn these breakthroughs into a universal language. In 1997, the world saw the release of 802.11, the first official Wi-Fi standard. It was slow, offering only 2 megabits per second, but the gate was finally open. The early years of the 2000s were the era of the early adopters. If you were there, you remember the frustration. Early Wi-Fi cards were expensive peripherals you had to slide into the side of your laptop. Routers were ugly, beige boxes with blinking green lights that required a manual the size of a novel to configure. Security was almost non-existent. If you had a router, your entire neighborhood likely had access to your internet. We saw the rise of war driving, where enthusiasts would drive through cities looking for open signals. It was the Wild West of the airwaves. As the adoption grew, so did the danger. We entered the era of the security wars. Early encryption, known as WEP, was laughably easy to crack. A teenager with a basic laptop could bypass a neighbor's password in seconds using simple tools. This led to a decade-long cat-and-mouse game between hackers and security engineers. We saw the birth of WPA, then WPA2, and eventually WPA3. Each iteration made our invisible connections more like a bank vault, introducing advanced encryption standards that are now used by the military. This security was the essential bridge that allowed us to eventually trust the airwaves with our bank accounts and our private lives. Then came the turning point: the integration of Wi-Fi into the consumer lifestyle. Apple was a major catalyst when they introduced the iBook with airport wireless networking. Suddenly, a laptop wasn't just a portable computer, it was a freedom machine. You could browse the web from your couch, your kitchen, or your bed. This shift in behavior forced the rest of the industry to catch up. As speeds increased with newer standards, the web stopped being a collection of text pages and started becoming a medium for rich media, streaming music, and eventually, the first low-resolution YouTube videos. As we moved into the 2010s, the revolution went vertical. The smartphone changed Wi-Fi from a laptop feature to a life feature. We began to see the emergence of the third space. Coffee shops, libraries, and airports became makeshift offices. This era saw the death of the traditional office cubicle and the birth of the digital nomad. We no longer asked, "Do you have a phone line?" We asked, "What is the Wi-Fi password?" This simple question became the universal greeting of the 21st century. But we must also look at the hidden cost of this convenience, the environmental impact. While Wi-Fi feels weightless, it is part of a massive global network of data centers that consume staggering amounts of electricity and water. Every time you stream a 4K video or back up your photos to the cloud over Wi-Fi, you are activating servers in giant warehouses that require immense cooling. The global carbon footprint of our digital habits is now comparable to the aviation industry. As we look toward the future, the challenge for engineers isn't just making Wi-Fi faster, but making it green, designing protocols that use less power and hardware that is more sustainable. The social impact of this technology cannot be overstated. In developed nations, we take a 500 megabit connection for granted. But for much of the world, Wi-Fi has been a tool for survival and social mobility. In many parts of the global south, where burying copper cable is too expensive, long-range wireless systems have been the primary way schools and hospitals connect to the global grid. Wi-Fi didn't just make our lives more convenient, it began to flatten the global hierarchy of information. Now, we look toward the horizon. We are currently seeing the rollout of Wi-Fi 7, which brings speeds that rival physical cables. But already, the world is preparing for Wi-Fi 8, known officially as 802.11 billion. This next generation isn't just about raw speed, it's about ultra-high reliability. It uses artificial intelligence to manage congestion in crowded cities and introduces sensing technology, where your Wi-Fi signal can actually detect movement in a room, potentially revolutionizing home security and elderly care without the need for cameras. As we look back at the timeline, we see a clear pattern. Every time we have increased our ability to communicate without wires, human productivity and creativity have exploded. We have moved from the tethered age to the mobile age, and we are now entering the ambient age, where the internet is as invisible and as necessary as the air we breathe. The journey from Hedy Lamarr's frequency hopping to the AI-driven networks of today is a story of persistent dreaming and engineering brilliance. It is a reminder that the most powerful revolutions are often the ones we cannot see. The air around you is currently thick with data, stories, and connections, all vibrating at frequencies the human eye can't perceive. You are standing in the middle of a digital storm, yet you feel nothing but the breeze. Thank you for traveling down this section of the timeline with us. The digital world is still in its infancy, and the next chapter of this wireless story is being written right now. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history of technology, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. We have many more eras to explore. Until next time, stay connected.